Hi, this is Eugene Blanchard, and we're going to talk about what you need to know when buying a condo. Who am I? I'm not a lawyer or realtor, just someone who recently started the whole condo purchasing process, adventure with my daughter and son-in-law. Information discussed here is based on my experience looking for a condo in the province of Alberta, Canada. The search began. We were looking for a two-bedroom condo within a specific price range in an area that we liked. We started our search using online resources like Point to Homes and the many commercial realtor services available. Location. We decided on a location in a good neighborhood and focused on a two-bedroom unit within our price range using a realtor. We visited the unit and found that the building appeared to be maintained well. First impressions, we were told that there was a healthy reserve fund of $350,000 and condo fees were $625 a month. The exterior landscaping and interior were in good shape, as were the general overall facilities. I can't show you anything of the building, just because of Freedom of Information Privacy Act. So these are just generic pictures that are being shown here. We put in an offer. We looked at financing, made an offer contingent on the results of a professional home inspection and the results of our lawyer reviewing the documentation. Realtors, well, one mistake we made was relying on information provided by the selling realtor. The realtor was very helpful, but his job is representing the seller, not the buyer. So I would suggest you get a realtor on your side. Lawyers, we used the lawyer recommended by the realtor. Another mistake here. We should have found a lawyer without ties to the selling realtor. The reason was we found that the lawyer's report reviewing the condo documents to be really subdued and overly neutral. I felt that it should have been supporting the buyer more by pointing out areas of concern more strongly. So the typical condo experience, this is the process that most first-time condo buyers experience. We approached buying a condo with the same process that we would rent an apartment. We checked out the location and the unit carefully. We looked at the building to see if it is clean and maintained, and then we proceed. Our focus is on the condo unit. What we're doing is we're buying a building. When you purchase a condo, you're not just buying the condo, you're purchasing a share in a building and all the maintenance that comes with it. You will be living in the condo unit. We own a building. The condo we looked at was one of 24 units in the building. That means we own 1/24 of the building. We have the responsibility for 1/24 of the cost associated with the complete building. Now, that is scary. So back to my condo adventure, two questions started to nag me. How do they set the monthly condo fees? It was $625 a month. Well, how did they come up with that number? And also, how do they determine a healthy reserve fund? We were told it's healthy at $350,000, but how do they know that? So first thing, condo fees. The monthly condo fees cover two areas: the day-to-day operation and maintenance of the building, and the reserve fund contributions. The day-to-day operations are items like paying the heating, electricity, water, sewage, carpet cleaning, snow removal in winter, landscaping, mowing the lawns, weeding the flower beds, etc. So the operations also cover the day-to-day management, which is to pay for the services of mowing the lawn and shoveling the snow and things like that, to collect condo fees, and to hire companies to service, repair, and replace items listed in the reserve fund study report as directed by the condo board. So you got a management company that's going to do all this day-to-day stuff, because the condo board is unit owners like yourself, that they have full-time jobs. They don't have time to do this stuff, so you hire a management company to do it. Reserve fund contributions, we mentioned that. The reserve fund contributions are used to top up the reserve fund so that there are sufficient funds to maintain the building and condo units so it does not fall into disrepair. We'll go into depth later about what this means. So basically there's a reserve fund, you have to contribute to it, and that's part of your condo fees. The operating costs in the documentation package that you should receive are the yearly financial statements for the past couple of years, the annual general meeting AGM minutes of the monthly or quarterly condo board meetings, and the most recent reserve fund study, the RFS study report. These documents are needed to examine and evaluate the management and operating costs of the building. You're buying a building, so you want to know how financially healthy it is. How do they set the monthly condo fees? Well, the financial statements will indicate the day-to-day operating costs for the year. So for the condo we looked at, the operating costs for a year were $180,000, right? So to generate those fees, you have to have condo fees. So if you take that $180,000, there's 24 units in our condo, divided by 24, it ends up at $7,500 per year. If we divide it by 12 to get the monthly cost, it works out to $625 a month, which was our monthly condo fee. So this answered the first of my two questions. How do they set the monthly condo fees? They look at the operating costs and divide it by 24, in our case for the number of units, and then 12 by the number of months, and that gives you your condo fees. Next question was, how do they determine a healthy reserve fund? Well, this is complicated. In Alberta by law, a reserve fund study must be performed every 5 years. And the reserve fund study is a physical inspection of the condominium's depreciating property. Depreciating property is basically anything that's going to wear out. So roof could have a lifespan of 25 years. Then you got to replace the shingles, and the heating system has a lifespan. The sidewalks have a lifespan. The reserve fund study report is a written document outlining all the findings from the study itself. Typically, professional engineering firms create the RFS, the Reserve Fund Study, and the Reserve Fund Study report is extremely important. This is the whole basis of the reserve fund and taking care of the building, right? The reserve fund study report will examine all aspects of the business. It will document the age and status of everything, from the fire alarm system, the roof condition, the water heaters, the lights in the hallway, lights, exterior lighting, the carpet, landscaping, the parking areas, the pavement, the parking garage, or if you have lighting in the parking, electrical in the parking, windows, balconies, the common areas where you have your mailbox, the front door phone, visitors' beeps that you can beep them in, sidewalks, washers, dryers, etc. It looks at the building from head to toe, including the attic, basement, foundation, and structural. Then the RFS report will assign a life expectancy to each item with a schedule of when it should be serviced, repaired, or replaced, and most importantly, an estimated cost of how much is this going to cost. It provides guidance for the maintenance and repair of the building for the upcoming 5 years until the next report is generated. The reserve fund should have enough funds to cover all of the future maintenance to the building. Basically, you add up all the costs detailed in the report, and there should be a large enough reserve fund to pay for those expenses. For example, there are 24 units on 3 floors in this building we're looking at. Each floor had 2 community washers and dryers, so there was 2 washers and 2 dryers per floor. The 2018 report indicated that the washers and dryers had a lifespan of 10 years and were purchased in 2013. That means they're end of life in 2023 and need to be replaced. Well, in 2018, the cost to replace these industrial washers and dryers was estimated to be about $8,000. Well, the price has ballooned in 2023 to over $12,000. That's just for washers and dryers. Example number 2, the RFS report also identified that the roof shingles needed to be replaced next year as they were at the end of their 25-year life. So this was an older building. It was built in the 70s, so it's coming to the end of life for a lot of the things like shingles on the roof. 2018 cost to replace was estimated at $100,000. Well, you add in inflation, and now you can expect it to be at least $120,000 if the price of shingles haven't gone up, right? So it doesn't take much for all of a sudden to have large expenses appear, right? So right now we're looking at $120,000 minimum for shingles next year, and then another $12,000 for washers and dryers. So the reserve fund purpose is to provide the funds to maintain, repair, and replace the items identified in the reserve fund study. And the idea is that you want minimal disruption to the finances of the condo unit holders. So I don't want to be hit with a special assessment, which we're going to talk a bit about later, that all of a sudden realize I have to spend $5,000 or $10,000. The money should come from the reserve fund that should be managed properly. The RFS report also provides advice on what the contributions to the reserve fund should be for each year, and it's based on the future expenses, and it's based on the current reserve fund status. So here's an example reserve fund recommendation. The 2018 reserve fund was sitting at $150,000. The recommendation was that the reserve fund contribution should be $64,000 for 2019, starting in 2019, and an increase of 4% for inflation each year thereafter. So on the side here, we look at 2018, the reserve fund was $150K. So in 2019, I'll bring my cursor in here, it says 2019, the reserve fund should be $150K plus $64,000 contribution will be $214,000. In 2020, what we do is we multiply the $64K by 1.04 to give our 4% inflation and add it to our new reserve fund of $214. We end up with $280,000. We do this for each year. 2021, it increases with $350,000, 2022 $422,000, and 2023 the reserve fund should be around $499,000. So do we have a healthy reserve fund? Well, based on the 2018 RFS report, the reserve fund should be close to $500,000 in 2023. The healthy reserve fund that we were told is $350,000. It's not healthy and won't cover the expected expenses. The Condo Board is mismanaging the reserve fund, in my opinion. It's $150,000 short. So this answered my questions. How do they determine a healthy reserve fund? Well, you have a study, you have a report, you have recommendations of what it should be. The Condo Board the members are elected by the unit owners to manage, and they're to manage the reserve fund and direct the management company on day-to-day operations and the maintenance, repair, and replacement of all items as described in the RFS report. Reserve fund contribution example. So one of the things I looked at was the financial statements, and the reserve fund contributions were set at $46,000 per year and remained the same amount from 2018 until 2023. So in this condo we're looking at, it was $46,000 per year. There was no adjustment for inflation, and the contributions did not follow the recommendations by the RFS report, right? So we just talked about it should be $64,000 and an increase with inflation every year. This indicates to me that the Condo Board was mismanaging the reserve fund, and the result is that the reserve fund was not big enough to cover the upcoming expenses. So special assessments, we've heard those, you might have heard of those terms, but what happens if there's not enough money in the reserve fund? Well, then a special assessment is deemed necessary. For example, if the roofing needed to be replaced and identified as costing $122,000 and there's not enough money in the reserve fund to cover it, in our example of a 24-unit building, it would cost each condo owner 1/24 of that amount. So we take $122K, divide it by 24, and we end up, each unit is now being charged $5,000 to cover this expense. And that's $5,000 above our normal condo fees. I sure don't want to pay $5,000 more. I'm sure you heard of special assessments of $20,000 to $30,000. What's interesting is the province of Ontario requires by law that condo board members, the directors, take an online course and be certified in order to be on a condo board. I think that's a great idea and should be law in Alberta also. The online course is free at this time and open to the public if you do research it. From what I can tell, you don't have to be a resident of Ontario to take the course either. It's a little bit misleading. It says that you have to have a letter or something from the condo board to take it or something like that, but I found that you can just register and take it. If you're considering buying a condo, I strongly suggest that you take the course, and remember, knowledge is power. I mentioned 2 documents related to minutes, the records of meetings that you should have received: the annual general meeting minutes and the monthly condo board meetings. The annual general meeting, the AGM, open to all unit holders to attend. The annual financial statement should be provided and any business items discussed. The financial statements determine the monthly condo fees. The financial statements also indicate the yearly reserve fund contribution if any maintenance, repair, or replacement has been performed as per the RFS report. Examining financial statements, in reviewing the yearly financial statements for the condo that I was looking at, the condo board hadn't approved any items as outlined in the 2018 RFS study. The condo board was managing by fire, in my opinion. They were just putting out fires when they appear. So basically, when anything broke down, that's when they would fix it, and that's it. So the result is a building that is slowly falling apart and not being maintained, and eventually it's like a house of cards. It's going to collapse and financially, and something big is going to come up. New issues: the AGM minutes and the monthly condo board minutes will also identify any issues that may have appeared since the RFS study. In my adventure, there appeared references to a structural problem in the northwest corner of the building report. I couldn't get any further information on what it was, and I couldn't get a copy of the report. Another concern arose in 2018, which talked about inadequate venting in the attic causing ice dams in the winter. So what happens is ice dams are caused by humidity forms in the winter time, and then it's freezing, and then you get ice dams, and then the ice melts in the springtime, and then you start getting problems with condensation and humidity and moisture in the walls. There's no further documentation on this issue or evidence that it was repaired. So these are red flags that something is wrong. In the RFS, there's some report, there's miscellaneous items. Again, in my condo venture, the 2018 RFS report had items listed that didn't have estimates attached. The report recommended that further investigation was required. One such item was bulging stucco on exterior walls, which could be an extremely expensive repair. This kind of ties in with the ice dams, and I just mentioned that you could have moisture going down the walls, so maybe those two are related. There was no indication in any documentation that anything was done to address this or the several other further investigation items. Having seen all this, we retracted our offer. As you probably guessed, we retracted our offer, received a full refund on our deposit. We went from the joy of finding a perfect 2-bedroom condo to thanking we didn't buy it. I hope this helps you in making an educated decision in purchasing a condo. I'm interested in hearing your views in the comments below. Just a little disclaimer here, the images were provided freely by the credited artists according to the rules of use of Pexel and Unsplash websites. Thank you.